Lobbies and Gentlegrams, Louisiana's legendary LimeWire lyricist who at one point could never miss is reloading the clips, and just like the clips, he's making a comeback with the Carter 6. 7 years after the Carter 5 and 17 years past his prime, my favorite rapper is back with a bladder, ready to piss off all the haters and naysayers, and I'm sadly scared he might slaughter the sophisticatedly sacred series of Carter albums. Now, can you guys recall to me where you were when every Carter album dropped? Carter 2 was the first CD I ever bought. Carter 3, I was a young kid, so it felt like I was waiting millenniums for that thing to drop. Really, it was only about a year and a half. I mean, Playboi Carti pretty much tripled that with his weight between Whole Lotta Red and I Am Music. But I was checking LimeWire every day from 2007 to 2008 for the Carter 3 to drop. And once it did, Lil Wayne felt larger than life. Aside from all the accolades, all the records that album broke, Lil Wayne kind of embodied this paradox where he was both a rock star and an alien, but still deeply embraced and woven into the fabric of pop culture. He moved like this mythical creature with his dreads, his $200,000 platinum teeth, his art gallery of face tattoos. These all became symbols of rebellion, individuality, and a staple of hip-hop superstardom. He was a cultural lightning rod, a rap alien orbiting around pop culture. And he took full advantage of this misunderstood, outer-worldly label that pop culture kind of put on him. He put out a dizzying amount of mixtapes, a feature list so long you'd think it's Big Mac and Akademiks' order at McDonald's. And he experimented in every genre and every sound possible, from rock to R&B, jazz, punk, reggae. The list goes on, and he dominated it all. By the time the Carter 4 came out, things kind of slowed down, but it seemed intentional, right? He had ushered in two mega superstars into the game with Drake and Nicki Minaj, and it was time for him to kick his feet up and enjoy the fruits of his labor. He did a little prison stint in 2010, and he said, "I be gone till November, but F it, I'm not tripping, I know Drizzy gonna kill them." By the time Carter 5 rolled around, that's exactly what happened, right? Drake was the biggest rapper, if you want to call him that. He was the biggest gooner in the game, and the consensus seemed as though the days of Lil Wayne being the best rapper alive were far behind them. I mean, at this point in 2018, everybody was Lil Wayne, right? Young Thug's debut album, Barter 6, was literally an interpolation of this notorious album series. And then all of his offsprings, Lil Uzi, Lil Baby, Gunna, the inherent DNA within their artistic style derived from Lil Wayne. I mean, Carti's whole 2025 rollout has been an exact replica of the energy that the Carter 3 rollout had embodied. We're gonna touch on that shortly in this video, but when you got all your little sons running around dominating hip-hop, the old tricks, the old styles, the old formulas you used to use no longer have that same impactful novelty. Don't get me wrong, Lil Wayne can still rap his butt crack off. I don't know if I could say ASS on YouTube. But yeah, he is by far my favorite rapper just because of the impact that everything about Wayne had on my childhood, from his work ethic to the evolution of his style to the Martian-like presence that he had on hip-hop. No one could touch him. And that's why I'm very happy and blessed to have this platform to finally document a Lil Wayne album rollout. Like, I wish I was on here talking to you guys when the Carter 3 was coming out. But I say all that to say, I'm kind of scared for the Carter 6. This is the first time with a Lil Wayne album, a Carter album particularly, where I don't feel necessarily optimistic or enthusiastic. I'm still very excited, don't get me wrong, but it's more of this like cautiously hopeful, apprehensive, nervous type feeling where I don't want, you know, my GOAT, who I grew up on this late in his career, to destroy such a classic album series. And on paper, you could argue that all signs might be pointing to that, right? Let me explain. And in order to do that, we got to go way back 18 years ago to the buildup of the Carter 3. Times were different, man. Like, I didn't have Wi-Fi in my house. I was an 11-year-old kid with the first generation iPod Touch, and I used to have to walk to the park next to my house to steal my neighbor's Wi-Fi. On there, I would go on this website called countdowntothecarter3.com, because there was no Instagram, there was no Apple Music. Like, I didn't know how to find out when a new album was coming out. And also, being in Canada, we didn't have the 106 in Parks and the MTVs. It was very hard to keep up with your favorite rapper or new music dropping. You kind of just had to go on LimeWire and hope for the best. That's why Soulja Boy was able to get away with renaming his Crank That song as 50 Cent in the Club, or all these massive hits. And people would just click on that song, not knowing it's really just this random guy named Soulja Boy. And that song ended up catching on because people just liked it. But it was all off the mystique and the treasure hunt layout of a website like LimeWire, where you just had to go out and dig. Yeah, I vividly remember, like, March of 2008, I'm on this Countdown to Carter 3 website. It says there's like 4 months until this project drops. I'm 11 years old and I'm counting down the days. And if you guys were around and you're Lil Wayne fans, you probably remember how insanely monstrous the hype and the anticipation was for this project. Put it like this, that was the last album in hip-hop history to sell 1 million physical copies in its first week. That was 18 years ago. And what's crazy is the rollout was even more insane than the project itself. I mean, at this point, 2007, Lil Wayne was recording so much music, you would think he never left the booth. And it wasn't like today where you get the odd demo track that gets leaked. Nah, I would say probably 90% of the music Lil Wayne recorded in 2007 was released in full. There was like 7 mixtapes, an entire series called The Drought Is Over, where random DJs would steal Lil Wayne leaked songs and make full-fledged projects out of them. And these were potential #1 hits. Songs like Something You Forgot, La La La, P, Money, and Weed. So many classic songs that were meant to be on the Carter 3 to the point where Lil Wayne had to put a couple of them as an EP on iTunes and delay the whole project by an entire year to re-record the whole thing. Chance the Rapper even says that his 2 favorite albums of all time are the Carter 3 and the leaked version of Carter 3. And it was all that amazing music leaking combined with the constant delays, the actual real music and real mixtapes Lil Wayne was putting out himself, like The Drought 3, all these monstrous features where he would literally take your song and make it a massive hit, Make It Rain, Pop Bottles, We Taking Over, Duffel Bag Boy. All of this led up to the world just waiting for the best rapper alive to give us the best project of all time. Not to forget that the Carter 2 was arguably also the best Carter in the entire series. And on that project, and on the first Carter, we saw the intro, interlude, and outro carry the same beat, with Lil Wayne kind of just freestyling over them. That seemed like a constant theme for all the Carter albums. So on Carter 1, you had Walk In, Walk Out. On the Carter 2, you had Fly In, the interlude, and then Fly Out. So how would the Carter 3 carry that theme? Well, in March of 2008, a mysterious song would hit LimeWire, hit the internet, leak online. Of course, it was first seen on a DJ mixtape, and it was called A Milli Freestyle featuring Corey Gunz. This was nonetheless also right when Lil Wayne dropped his #1 single, the first single for the Carter 3, Lollipop. So again, you could imagine the anticipation here, the buzz Lil Wayne had. He has the #1 song in the country right now. And all this random amazing music keeps leaking on these DJ mixtapes. A couple weeks later, we'd get a new version of A Milli without Corey Gunz and new verses from Lil Wayne. Then you come to find out that this beat was supposed to be used as the intro, interlude, and outro of the Carter 3, the same way you had Walk In, Fly In, etc. on the Carter 1 and 2. Just a little Lil Wayne history for you. But that song had such a massive, crazy reaction from fans online that Lil Wayne actually ended up making it the second single to the Carter 3. And considering how untraditional the sound of that song was, from the production to the outlandish bars to the fact that there's not even a hook on the song, it's just 3 Lil Wayne verses, him going back to back. Again, it was meant to just be an interlude on the Carter 3. That song ended up hitting the top 10 of the Billboard charts and becoming the most iconic song of Lil Wayne's career. At this point, everything Wayne touches turns to gold. We got like 150 songs or more from Wayne, whether they were leaked, whether they were features, whether they were mixtape songs in the last year and a half, and everyone's waiting for the Carter 3. It comes out and, of course, again, sells 1 million copies in the first week. Before we even get the album, we get 3 top 10 singles from Wayne with Lollipop, A Milli, Got Money, and the album goes on to win 3 Grammys. And that same year that he wins those Grammys, he introduces the world to Nicki Minaj, Drake, and Tyga. I say all this to say you could see the type of standard Wayne was building up for the Carter series going forward, right? Build up anticipation with feature runs and mixtapes. A bunch of random songs would leak. We'd get these massive singles. The album would go on to do crazy numbers. With Carter 4, it seemed like his team was trying to kind of follow or mimic that formula in a certain sense. You had the constant delays. First, the album was supposed to come out in spring of 2011, then it got pushed back to early summer, then it finally released in the late summer of 2011. You got the feature run to build anticipation. Songs like I'm On One, Look at Me Now, Motivation, Welcome to My Hood. You got the mixtape to apologize for the wait and appetize fans in the meantime with Sorry for the Wait, similar to how he did with the Drought 3, where he's just crushing every rapper's beat. And you're getting these massive singles, right? The first one being 6 Foot, 7 Foot, which takes a very similar approach to A Milli, where you got this repetitive sample looped on the entire beat. Lil Wayne is just spitting, there's no hook. And just like the original version of A Milli, 6 Foot, 7 Foot featured Corey Gunz. Then you get the more mainstream pop single with How to Love, similar to how he did with Lollipop. And while the Carter 3's third single was a collaboration with the hottest hook maker in the game, T-Pain, the third single of the Carter 4, took a similar approach with the song She Will receiving a hook from 2011's hottest hook maker in the game, Drizzy Drake. I mean, of course, Lil Wayne said, we gonna be alright if we put Drake on every hook. So you could see the execution of the rollout of the Carter 4 mirrored a lot of what went down with the Carter 3. The only difference is that with the Carter 3, everything was kind of unintentional, right? Like, his team didn't mean for all those songs to leak. A Milli wasn't even meant to be a single. It was just like a loose track that made its way on the internet. They turned it into a single based off fan reception. The Drought 3 wasn't necessarily meant to build anticipation for the Carter 3, and Lollipop wasn't even supposed to be the first single. It was supposed to be this other song that leaked. I forget the name. Drop it in the comments if you remember. It was not a very good song. But my point is, like, the Carter 3 rollout was very organic. That's why you see rappers today still trying to imitate it, like Playboi Carti, right? The anticipation became massive and the rollout seemed damn near perfect just because of the sheer strength of Wayne's ability to produce a massive amount of music. The anticipation, the hype wouldn't have been as big if all those songs didn't leak, right? Because he wouldn't have had to go back and redo the whole album. We wouldn't have got the feature runs. We wouldn't have got the amazing mixtapes. All these singles for the Carter 3 were really unintentional. His team just had so much music to choose from that they kind of let the fans decide. But with the Carter 4, it was a lot more calculated and again mirrored a lot of the sounds, a lot of the execution that we saw with the Carter 3. But by 2011, there was already a lot more competition, right? Wayne still seemed to be in strong form, but he was definitely passing the torch actively to Drake and Nicki Minaj at this point in time. He was making comments in interviews saying that, he couldn't compete with the likes of a Jay-Z, a far cry from his best rapper alive sentiments just years before this. And he would constantly emphasize that he wanted his Young Money artists to be better than him. The Carter 4 seemed more like an effort from Wayne's team to capture the moment, the aesthetic, the era of the Carter 3, more than it actually seemed like Wayne trying to build, a new world on top of what he's already done. I mean, even the cover art was a direct copy of the Carter 3. Both of them featuring baby pictures of Wayne with his modern day tattoos on his face. And again, don't get me wrong, the formula definitely worked, right? Like, the Carter 4 went on to sell almost 1 million copies in the first week, 964,000. Just like the Carter 3, before each of those albums were released, he was walking into the project with already 3 top 10 hits on the Billboard charts. And everyone was, amped up, ready to hear what Wayne's return would sound like after doing a year in jail and being 3 years removed from the last Carter album. And at the time that Carter 4 first released, a lot of fans, including myself, were pretty disappointed with it. Like, something felt like it was missing. As it ages with time, I think now it's a great album, but when it first released, I was like, where are the concept songs like Dr. Carter? Where are the straight freestyles full of raw, passionate, gritty, alien-like energy like a 3-Peat, a Milli? Yeah, they were there, but they didn't feel the same. Where was the introspection like you saw in songs like Misunderstood or Shoot Me Down or Tie My Hands? Where was the Kanye West production on songs like Let the Beat Build or Comfortable? I mean, even the hits. While on paper, the Carter 4 stacked up to the Carter 3, something was missing. It didn't feel the same. There was an energy or a passion or a drive that was definitely absent on the 4th installment that was most definitely there on the 3rd. Was the best rapper alive no longer determined to be the best rapper alive? Was he now passing that torch onto his predecessors? It's hard to say, but sadly, things would only get worse from here. Now, again, as a long-time, lifelong Wayne fan, I could find gems in every era of Wayne's career, and he was constantly still evolving even after the Carter 4. He never lost a beat, and he never stopped letting the beat build, but there were a couple factors that really derailed his career. We're going to touch on all of them. Number one, starting off in 2012, after the Carter 4, you noticed a blatant lack of care in the subject matter and production on Wayne's music. I mean, the first single to the Carter 4 was 6 Foot 7 Foot. The first single to his next album, I'm Not a Human Being 2, was My Homie Still with Big Sean. Go listen to that beat and tell me that's something you would ever unironically bump in your whip. The bars became so infested with vaginal references and metaphors, you would think Lil Wayne was recording in the red light district throughout this entire era. And if he wasn't rapping about vagina, he was rapping about skateboarding or truck fit. Or sometimes he'd combine both worlds and you'd get bars like suck a guy's D for some truck fit. It went from Wayne hopping on your song and making it his own to Wayne getting washed by his own artists on records like Drake on French Montana's Pop That, or Future on the song Tap Out. And it just seemed like as time went on, Wayne accomplished everything there was to accomplish as a rapper, right? Signing a predecessor that was generating more revenue than your music was, killing every feature you ever stepped on, creating classic mixtape after mixtape, hitting the top of the Billboard charts multiple times, selling 1 million in the first week multiple times. What else was left for there to do besides Lil Wayne to just have fun, skateboard a little, enjoy the fruits of his labor with some good punani, and just, experiment a little? Not in the bedroom, but, in the music, right? You got albums like I'm Not a Human Being 2, where he'd rap bars like, I'm in the crib butt naked, my girl said that my D could be the next black president. That's literally how he starts off the album. That's the first bar on the album. Or he finishes the album with the final track rapping, my tongue is an Uzi, my D is an AK. It seemed like Lil Wayne didn't care, but in the later half of his career, a repeated theme would be, whenever Wayne was counted out, that's what would make him 10 times hungrier. So in 2013, right, this is when he releases I'm Not a Human Being 2. This is when his predecessors Drake and Nicki Minaj are at the top of the game. And it's sad to say, but Lil Wayne was kind of an afterthought within 2013 hip-hop discourse. Not what he had previously brought to the game, but where he was at that point in time, right? People were more focused on what Kendrick was doing, what Kanye was doing. You had the whole blog era emerge. Like, again, no one was really going crazy over dedication for I'm Not a Human Being 2. So Lil Wayne was not nominated for any awards at the VMAs or the BET Awards that year. And again, he did put out an album that year, right? So he tweeted out, noticed I wasn't nominated nor involved in the MTV BMAs nor the BET Awards. I apologize to my fans and I promise to work harder if it kills me. And it seemed like he was really set out on that mission. He announced the 5th installment to the Carter series in 2014, and it was expected to be released, I believe, May of 2014, which is crazy to think when you actually break down when it ended up being released. But he drops a single with Drake, Believe Me, huge banger. It seems like Lil Wayne's back. He teases a couple other singles, drops one of the best songs he released in the 2010s decade with Duce. And he seems like he's in this new rejuvenated form. He's rapping like he hasn't rapped in almost like 8 years. He's really rapping like he's trying to prove to the world again that he's the best rapper alive. Like everyone left him out of the conversation. He was about to drop the Carter 5 and show everyone that he still had it. And things seemed to be going good until, boom, December of 2014. Again, the project was supposed to be released in May of 2014, so you get about 6 months, not a word, constant delays of the project, which is normal. Again, think about all the delays of the Carter 3 or the Carter 4 before it was actually released. This was pretty normal for Carter territory, but this was much, much different. Wayne would announce in December of 2014 that Cash Money Records, the home to all of his music for the last 20 years of his career, was keeping the Carter 5 hostage and robbing him of his profits for his music, Drake's music, and Nicki's music. He said he wanted off the label, nothing to do with these people at the label. And again, the people at the label were Birdman and Slim. Birdman being the guy who Lil Wayne said was a father figure to him. And he said the Carter 5 was not coming out until his record label issues were sorted. And that took almost 4 years. Before Drake was suing UMG, Weezy was suing UMG, but it wasn't for losing a rap battle. It was for losing dozens of millions of dollars in profits for his own music and all his artist music. And in a weird way, the lawsuit itself kind of became the rollout for the Carter 5. The Carter 3 was built up to be this big mystical thing because Lil Wayne just kept releasing music and random songs would leak to the point where he had to go back to the drawing board and redo the whole project with new songs. Fans were getting fed with an abundance of music, but it was because of that he kept having to redo the album. With this album, it was the lack of music, the lack of Wayne presence within hip-hop culture that built up the hype for what his next move would be, for what the next Carter album would sound like. And again, this was something that was announced in 2014. We only finally got it in 2018. But like I mentioned earlier in this video, by the time 2018 rolled around, the mumble rap era, the SoundCloud era was in full effect. Everyone sounded like a Lil Wayne clone. You guys could say I'm reaching, and maybe I'll do a video digging into what other rappers have specifically said about Wayne and why I believe he is the most inspirational rapper of all time. But by 2018, think about the biggest rappers in the game and the fact that each of them took direct influence from Wayne. You had at the top of the game Drake, who was literally ushered into hip-hop through Lil Wayne. You had Kendrick Lamar, who has stated numerous times that Wayne was one of his biggest inspirations, who literally created C4, the project, before Lil Wayne was able to release the Carter 4. It was a mixtape full of Carter 3 freestyles. You had Tyler, the Creator, who was a massive Lil Wayne fan, who, just like me, had recognized Wayne's newfound hunger back in 2014. He was tweeting that Wayne's verse on the 2014 song Senile sounded like old Wayne. There would have been no Future without Lil Wayne. There wouldn't have been a Young Thug without Lil Wayne. Migos, Lil Uzi, Playboi Carti. The list goes on, and my point is the landscape in 2018 was filled with so many Lil Wayne clones, literally so many rappers who had Lil attached to their name that there was no novelty, again, in Lil Wayne's sound at this point. He was kind of tied between a rock and a hard place, if that's the right expression. Where it's like, he could follow the same formulas that worked for him in the past, but the whole game kind of sounded like an offspring of Wayne's. So why would it be special if Wayne was continuing the formula that he now birthed into this entire new generation? Or he could hop on the trends and try to sound like a 2018 rapper, hop on, modern day production and belch out a Drake or a Lil Baby flow, and he's done that, but the final product is just never that good. The freestyles on his mixtapes went from him taking another rapper's beat and reconstructing the whole song entirely, making it his own, to him just kind of following the same structure as the original song, not really bringing anything new to the table. Lil Wayne always kind of seemed like he was in his own world, and that's what made him great at one point. And given his massive influence on the 2010s generation, it never seemed like Lil Wayne was trying to chase a trend or catch up, but somehow it kind of felt like he got left behind. And this wasn't by his own doing. Wayne never left the booth. Wayne was constantly giving us new features, new mixtapes, new songs. And the Carter 5 was not bad by any means, but again, it didn't sound revolutionary compared to old Wayne work, and it didn't really stand out in the modern landscape of 2018 hip-hop, especially because every other rapper sounded like Wayne. But it was after the Carter 5 where I have my personal gripes with Wayne. I've said this, I believe, on Twitter. By the way, follow me on Twitter, search up Rapaholics. We're closing in on 300 followers there. But I had said, Wayne, with the Carter 6, with any project he approaches, has the potential and the skill set to make it a classic project. His ability to pick up a pen, or actually not pick up a pen, just go in the booth and just straight spit because he doesn't write his lyrics down, is still impeccable. He's still able to give phenomenal wordplay. His verses are insane. The energy is there. The passion, the hunger is there. He has some incredible moments. But it's really when he has the right backdrop or A&R or producer there to make him sound good, if that makes sense. Go listen to all his collaborations with Tyler, the Creator. Tyler, the Creator, since 2011, has been tweeting out, "I really want to get Wayne on jazz production." And that's exactly what he did. He knew the exact production that Wayne would sound perfect on, beats that would perfectly complement Wayne's ability to just go in the booth and ruthlessly spit. Or you have someone like Solange, who gave Wayne the backdrop of a beautiful record to go in and spit one of his most personal, deep verses of all time. Go listen to the song Mad. Or check out any of his collaborations with the Griselda guys, anytime he gets on Alchemist production, anytime Lil Wayne is laced with a great beat, a good concept for a song, or another rapper who is spitting at the same level that Wayne is capable of, it brings out the best in Wayne. The problems with Wayne himself is that him and his team can't structure songs to save their lives. This was a song off his most recent album, Funeral, which was already 5 years ago, which is crazy. But this sounds damn near unlistenable.
Got a hammock, I'm a lay with a neck with just a bandana on the face.
The beat, his voice, everything there, right? That's not a song. That just sounds like a bunch of noise and someone yelling on a track. And that's my second gripe, which is that, again, Wayne can still spit phenomenally, but his voice, something is just off with his voice. He uses this nasally, high-pitched, squeaky, ear-wrenching, if that's a term, type voice where, again, it's just unlistenable. Even on some of his best verses in the last 10 years, where he's rapping at such a high level, the flows, the wordplay, the subject matter in these verses is amazing. Something about his voice just sounds off. Take a look at this verse.
Tapping up a little cash cow, that steak I'm eating. Check deposits, high rises with extra closets.
Or this verse.
Chin to the clouds, all 10 on solid ground. Sipping purple Whitney Houston, never touched a Bobby Brown.
Great verses, but something's just off with his voice. Listen to those and then listen to this.
Chin to the clouds, all 10 on solid ground. Like my old woman, I tell her I'm probably better off with no woman.
Or this.
And I'm running this thing like I'm walking in a race.
And the third thing is the auto-tune, man. He's got to stop abusing and drowning his voice in auto-tune. I understand he was a pioneer in this, in 2008. But again, the game has got saturated with a bunch of these lil rappers that are copying Wayne's style, doing the same thing, integrating auto-tune into all their music. So it's so saturated at this point, we do not need to hear Wayne crenching and drenching in auto-tune this late in his career. Look at this remake of the song You by Lil Wayne and Lloyd. Take a look at the remake.
You know I love you like good food. You know you're with a good dude.
And then here's the original.
You know I love you like good food. You know you're with a good dude.
Between the auto-tune, between the tone-deaf harmonizing,
Probably wanna crackers.
between the high-pitched voice, right? Like, something's got to change with the actual delivery of Wayne's vocals, which is insane because at one point he had the most unique, infectious, like the best voice in the game. He was out doing R&B legends on R&B records while he's crooning in autotune. Listen to Lovin' This Club Part 2 by Usher. Listen to Can't Believe It by T-Pain. He used to know how to do the auto crooning very well. I don't know what happened. I mean, I think it's just that high-pitched voice. I can't stand that. And I'm afraid we're going to get a lot of that tone-deaf singing on the Carter 6 because there's already been confirmed several MGK features. And if you guys don't know, MGK's been in this like rock, pop, punk type lane lately. And he said he's doing a couple hooks on the Carter 6. That is the last feature we need on the Carter 6. It's also speculated that Nicki Minaj and Lil Baby are going to be on that album. I don't know. That does not sound right to me. The Carter 4 had Nas, Andre 3000, Tech 9, Jadakiss. The Carter 3 had Jay-Z, Busta Rhymes, Joel Santana, Fabulous. I mean, do we really need MGK on the Carter 6? My prediction here is it's going to be a very long track list to kind of cater to the modern streaming era where artists just put a bunch of songs on an album to rack up the streams. There's going to be all different types of sounds. It's going to be a bloated mess. This is my worst case scenario. I'm really hoping it's not this. But by the little detail that we have on the project, it's kind of sounding like it's going to be all over the place. And again, that was my number one problem with Wayne, is that him and his team can't lock in on proper song structure, on strong hooks, on a cohesive body of work. It's always been all over the place ever since the Carter 4. Now, there's a couple other things worrying me about the rollout of this project. And again, given the weight of this album series, the Carter series, this should not be something that Wayne just plays around with loosely, as this directly impacts his legacy. There's nothing more attached to Wayne's legacy than the Carter album series. And if he's going to ruin that with this album, it's going to be very hard to look back on this series as fondly as we already do. So, firstly, he announced this project already 4 years ago in 2022. And it's been 7 years since the last Carter album. Now, again, I told you guys, the lawsuit and the big wait between the Carter 4 and the Carter 5 was the rollout for the Carter 5. It was the fact that we hadn't heard a Carter album in so long. But the crazy thing is, between the Carter 4 and the Carter 5, that's actually a shorter time period than the Carter 5 to the Carter 6. But yet, somehow, even though the wait's been longer, it doesn't feel as substantial. It doesn't feel like as many people are waiting. It doesn't feel like the people who are waiting are nearly as excited as they were while they were waiting for the Carter 5. So he announced this thing 4 years ago already. We haven't got a single. Since the announcement in 2022, I believe he's put out at least 100 songs since then. Not an album, a really bad project, which we'll touch on shortly, but even with all that music, the biggest moment Wayne has had, or the moment when the most people were talking about him, was when he was complaining about not getting the Super Bowl halftime performance. And what did he say leading up to that? The reason why he wanted to be selected to be the Super Bowl halftime performer instead of Kendrick Lamar? He said he wanted his output, his music at this point, to be so good that him being the halftime show performer would be an undeniable decision. Very similar to how back in 2013 he said, hey, notice that I'm Not a Human Being 2 wasn't nominated for any BET or MTV awards. I'm going to work harder to make sure that I make it up to you guys. And then we got, the beginning of the rollout for the Carter 5. With the Super Bowl halftime show, he was kind of saying, I'm building up anticipation for the Carter 6. It's going to be so good that I'll be the undeniable pick for this halftime show. Of course, that didn't happen. We didn't get a single. We didn't get nothing. All we got was a whole lot of complaining from Wayne. And literally, the announcement of the Carter 6 was a Cetaphil commercial where he said, I can't go to the Super Bowl because I got big things to work on. So he centered the entire rollout, again, around not getting the Super Bowl halftime show. Before that, we got a really lackluster project called The Fix Before the 6, which, on a side note, I actually love the name of that project. Like, I think that sounds like a really clever spin or a sequel to the title Sorry for the Wait, which he used for the Carter 4. Instead of saying like Sorry for the Wait for the Carter, it's The Fix Before the Carter 6. I thought that was clever, but The songs were horrible. These were supposed to be like Lucy's that didn't make the project. But think back in history to all the Lucy's for the Carters 3, 4, and 5, right? For the Carter 3, we literally got like 7 mixtapes worth of random songs that leaked online. Those were the Lucy's. For the Carter 4, when Wayne was in jail, we got I'm Not a Human Being 1. A lot of those songs were meant to be on the Carter 4. That was a solid project. Then for the Carter 5, of course, he announced that Cash Money was holding the album back, so he gave us the Free Weezy album. Those were a bunch of Lucy's that were meant for the Carter 5, and those songs were pretty solid as well. You stack those up to the Lucy's for the Carter 6, which were the songs on the Fix Before the 6. Those were bloody awful. Those were terrible. A horrible indicator of what we were about to be expecting on this project if it sounds anything like the songs on that project. And again, this is coming from a diehard Wayne fan. But the thing is, there's a difference between someone who can blindly stan an artist and someone who can call it how it is. Bring the facts, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and not criticize my favorite rapper when I believe he's effing up. And make no mistake, I mean, in my eyes at least, this rollout has been an absolute mess. So you get the announcement at Drake's OVO Fest in 2022, 4 years ago. Then we don't hear a single thing about it. Then, I believe in 2023, we randomly get the Fix Before the 6 project. It's absolutely awful. We also got No Ceilings 3 somewhere in between there. That was very forgettable. Like I said before, he used to take other rappers' beats, make those songs his own. At this point, he's just kind of copying the same song structure of those original beats and just kind of redoing them with his own verses. So that came and went. Then you get him complaining about not doing the Super Bowl. Then you get this Cetaphil commercial, this hand cream commercial, where he's again complaining about not doing the Super Bowl. Then you get a Rolling Stones interview where the only thing we learned from that interview was that A, there's MGK features on the Carter 6, and B, Wayne has forgotten everything notable within hip-hop in the last 15 years. He didn't even know that Jay-Z and Kanye West released an album together. And that album came out a week before the Carter 4. And he has freestyles where he references that album. It makes no sense. He also said that he didn't know Not Like Us was a diss song against his own artist, Drake. Anyways, that Rolling Stones interview was a mess. It did more to promote the fact that Lil Wayne might be suffering from memory loss than it did to actually promote Carter 6. And then the only good announcement I believe that his team has made so far is the fact that he's going on an arena tour for this project right after it releases. I think that's great. And it puts into perspective things like the fact that Wayne has been performing at nightclubs and 2,000 person venues for the last damn near 10 years at this point. Lil Wayne should be doing stadiums. If Lil Wayne kept on the proper trajectory that he was going in during the Carter 4 era, during the Carter 3 era, he would be doing stadiums at this point. He would have been the first rapper before Kendrick Lamar to probably touch that Super Bowl stage, to hit stadiums. Both him and Kanye West, they both fumbled in their own individual ways. But back to the Carter 6, the fact that we have not gotten a single for that project, when you think back to the times of the Carter 4 and the Carter 3, when each of those projects he was leading up to them before they were released, we had 3 top 10 singles for both those albums before they actually came out. This time we have not one single. I'm holding out hope because the Carter 5 was kind of released in a similar way, but at least with that, we had a couple singles from 2014, even though the album was released in 2018. But I don't know, is Wayne the type of artist that should be doing surprise drops like this? Is Wayne a Beyonce at this point where the Carter 6 should have not one single? I think the good thing about a single this late in Wayne's career is test the waters, right? Throw out a couple songs, see which ones resonate with the people, what sounds your fans think you should kind of head in, and then kind of make decisions from there of which songs you're going to place on the project. Because the problem is his team has such a hard time actually picking the right songs. Wayne records thousands of tracks, right? So if you go to his recent albums like Funeral, you could see it's bloated messes, no cohesion. All the songs kind of sound different, but it seems like there's a couple hidden gems mixed in with a lot of just uninspired, directionless work. I'm really hoping that's not what the Carter 6 is. But it's how does a DDG album in 2025 have more hype than the Carter frickin' 6, right? This feels like a legacy act that his promotional team or his label just kind of forgot about, right? The Eminem project last year, The Death of Slim Shady, that was the perfect way to roll out a project for what you could consider, or what definitely is actually, a legacy act, right? That felt like him killing off this alter ego that he built up over 20 years ago. The singles sounded very nostalgic and reminiscent to the early Slim Shady days. Everything about that project, A, it followed a theme of him actually killing off that alter ego, and B, it felt like a nod to the old Eminem, right? It felt like a reflection of his career. At least if you're going to make some sort of callback to this legendary Carter series, make it a tribute to the legacy Wayne has built up throughout this series, right? Like, that's what the Carter 5 kind of felt like. You had the little interludes from his mom, or the little speech from Barack Obama, or, you know, the songs like Dedication, where Wayne is reflecting on all the inspiration he brought to the next generation. Like, the Carter 5 is kind of where it could have left off. It sounded like the cap off to the Carter series. He even ends the album off with one of his best songs in the last decade, Let It All Work Out, where he's reflecting on the moment where he actually hit himself with a firearm. All I'm saying is this is like a cherished, sacred series within hip-hop, right? And I'm just here kind of like begging Wayne, please do not destroy this. Like, I hope I don't sound too negative, and I really hope to be proven wrong. I hope, you know, if I drop this on Thursday, by Friday, I hope you guys are commenting this aged like milk and the album's amazing, etc. I'll be so happy to hear that. And let me try to frame this criticism in a positive way. I think Wayne's biggest downfall is that he's too good of a rapper. Wayne has said himself he doesn't turn down features. No matter how bad the song is, he'll make it better with his verse. But the problem there is that Wayne is way too focused at this point on quantity over quality. Like, he'll give you a song with 100 bars, but it's like, are any of them actually memorable, or is it just him rapping for the sake of rapping at this point? Where are the concepts? Where's the reflection? Where's the cohesion of the projects? Where's the revolutionary sounds that you had on your earlier music? I don't know. Where are the singles? Like, how the hell have we not gotten a single for a Carter album? Again, I'm excited, but I'm skeptical. And I think it's time to be honest about Wayne at this point in his career. He's put in way too much work, brought in way too much influence, had way too many accomplishments, been way too good of a rapper to be spending the latter half of his career the way he has. Maybe I just hold him at too high of a standard. Maybe I'm hating. Maybe I'm delusional. I hope I'm wrong. But let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in the next one.